In 1982, the film adaptation of the Broadway musical Annie was released, creating a cultural phenomenon that etched itself deeply into the hearts of audiences. With a story about the Great Depression, resilience, and the search for family, the work was not only a commercial success, but became an unforgettable part of the childhood memories of an entire generation. It was a film where optimism conquered cynicism, where a billionaire opened his heart, and where a little girl reminded us all to hold on until tomorrow. But behind those iconic characters were actors with their own unique destinies. More than 40 years have passed, and time has carved different marks upon their lives. Some continued to shine brilliantly on stage and screen. Some chose a quieter path away from the spotlight, and some have had to stop, their journey leaving behind a legacy of art and emotion. Today, let us look back at the tumultuous and poignant journeys of the cast that created the soul of Annie. Carol Burnett as Miss Hannigan. In Annie, the character of Miss Agatha Hannigan is a villainess for the ages, a disillusioned, gin-soaked matron of the orphanage who despises children almost as much as she despises her own life. With her disheveled lingerie, clanking necklaces, and that iconic voice dripping with sarcasm, Carol Burnett turned a character that could have been terrifying into a comedic masterpiece. Her performance of Little Girls remains a masterclass in physical comedy and character acting. At age 49, Burnett infused Hannigan with a desperate, manic energy that made her simultaneously loathsome and pitiably hilarious, cementing her status as a queen of comedy. Born in San Antonio, Texas, Carol Burnett's real life was a far cry from the abusive matron she played, though it was not without its own hardships. Raised by a beloved grandmother in a boarding house in Hollywood due to her parents' alcoholism, she found solace in the movies, a passion that would define her future. Before Annie, she had already conquered television with The Carol Burnett Show, a variety show that ran for 11 years and garnered 22 Emmy Awards. She was America's sweetheart, known for her ability to make the world laugh until it cried. After the success of Annie, Burnett continued to demonstrate her extraordinary versatility. She didn't just rest on her laurels, she took on dramatic roles in television movies like Friendly Fire and Life of the Party. The story of Beatrice, proving she was a powerhouse actress capable of deep vulnerability. She returned to Broadway, wrote best-selling memoirs, and received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Her personal life, however, was a tapestry woven with both immense love and profound tragedy. She was married 3 times, finding her longest union with producer Joe Hamilton, with whom she had 3 daughters. But the laughter that defined her career was silenced for a time by the heartbreaking struggle of her eldest daughter, Carrie Hamilton. Carrie battled addiction, a fight Carol supported her through publicly and privately, only for Carrie to pass away from cancer at the young age of 38. This loss devastated Burnett, yet she displayed the resilience of the characters she often played, channeling her grief into writing and charity work. She found love again later in life, with musician Brian Miller finding a quiet, supportive partnership that brought her peace. The connection between the role and her life is a study in contrasts. Miss Hannigan was a woman trapped by her circumstances, bitter and unloved, who lashed out at the world. Carol Burnett, conversely, is a woman who overcame a difficult childhood, not with bitterness, but with humor and grace. While Hannigan chased Easy Street, Burnett built her road with hard work and kindness. Today, at the age of 91, Carol Burnett is still defying the odds. She remains active, appearing in recent hit series like Better Call Saul and Palm Royale, her wit as sharp as ever. Her journey is a testament to the healing power of laughter and the enduring spirit of a woman who, despite the tragedies, is still glad to have this time together with her audience. Albert Finney as Daddy Warbucks. In Annie, Oliver Daddy Warbucks is the cold, workaholic billionaire who seemingly cares more for money than people until a red-headed orphan melts his heart. Albert Finney, with his shaved head and gruff demeanor, underwent a remarkable transformation to play this role. He portrayed Warbucks not just as a caricature of capitalism, but as a lonely man who didn't realize how empty his life was. His rendition of "I Don't Need Anything" but you remains one of the film's most heartwarming moments. Finney, a classically trained British actor known for gritty realism, surprised the world by taking on a musical role, yet he brought a gravity and sincerity to Warbucks that grounded the entire film. Albert Finney's real life was that of a true artist's artist, hailing from Salford, England. He was the son of a bookmaker who rose to become the new Laurence Olivier. He burst onto the scene in the 1960s as the face of the British angry young man in films like Saturday Night and Sunday Morning and the raucous Tom Jones. After Annie, Finney did not chase blockbuster fame. Instead, he continued to choose roles that challenged him, earning 5 Academy Award nominations throughout his career. He disappeared into his characters, from the alcoholic diplomat in Under the Volcano to the flamboyant lawyer in Aaron Brockovich. He was a chameleon, refusing to be typecast, and famously turned down a knighthood, viewing such honors as a form of snobbery he wanted no part of. Privately, Finney was a man who fiercely guarded his life away from the camera. He was a lover of horse racing and the simple pleasures of life, staying true to his working-class roots. His romantic life was colorful, including a brief marriage to Anouk Aimée, but he eventually found stability and deep companionship with Pine Delmage, whom he married in 2006. They lived a relatively quiet life in London, far removed from the glitz of Hollywood. In his later years, he faced a silent battle with kidney cancer, a diagnosis he kept largely out of the public eye, choosing to focus on his recovery and his final roles, including the gamekeeper Kincaid in the James Bond film Skyfall. The connection between Warbucks and Finney is poignant. Warbucks was a public figure who learned the value of private love. Finney was a public figure who always prioritized his private life. Warbucks used his wealth to buy happiness, while Finney used his talent to enrich the world of art, finding wealth in the craft itself. However, this journey of a cinematic titan came to a quiet end. On February 7, 2019, Albert Finney passed away at the Royal Marsden Hospital in London from a chest infection at the age of 82. His departure left a void in the acting world that can never be filled. The legacy he left is not just a list of credits, but a standard of excellence and integrity that few achieve. Tim Curry as Rooster Hannigan. In Annie, Rooster Hannigan is the slick, conniving brother of Miss Hannigan, a con artist with a switchblade in his pocket and a song in his heart. Tim Curry, with his devilish grin and flexible physicality, made Rooster a villain you couldn't help but watch. His performance in Easy Street is iconic. Blending vaudeville charm with a menacing edge, Curry brought a theatricality to the role that was mesmerizing. He was a snake in a cheap suit, dangerous yet undeniably charismatic, stealing every scene he was in with his high kicks and sinister charm. Before terrorizing orphans, Tim Curry had already cemented his place in pop culture history as Dr. Frank N. Furter in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. After Annie, his career continued to be a kaleidoscope of eccentric and memorable characters. He became one of the most prolific voice actors in the industry, lending his distinctive baritone to hundreds of cartoons and audiobooks. He terrified a generation as Pennywise the Clown in the miniseries It, and amused them as the butler in Clue. He was a man of the stage as well, earning Tony nominations for Amadeus and Spamalot. He worked tirelessly, driven by a pure love for performance and a refusal to be bored by his work. Tim Curry's personal life was kept incredibly private. He never married and had no children, dedicating his life entirely to his craft. He was known among friends as a witty, intelligent, and incredibly kind man, a sharp contrast to the villains he often portrayed. He lived for his work, and his work was his life. He enjoyed gardening and interior design, cultivating a beautiful life in Los Angeles. However, his life took a drastic turn in July 2012 when he suffered a major stroke. The event was catastrophic, leaving him wheelchair-bound and affecting his speech. The connection between his role and his life is one of resilience. Rooster was a character who always looked for an angle, a way to survive and thrive. Tim Curry, in the face of a life-altering disability, showed a different kind of survival instinct. He did not hide away. He adapted. Today, at the age of 78, Tim Curry is still working. Though he can no longer perform physically as he once did, his mind and his voice remain active. He continues to do voice work, and appears at conventions to meet the fans who adore him. His journey is a powerful testament to the fact that while the body may falter, the spirit of a true artist is unbreakable. Bernadette Peters as Lily St. Regis. In Annie, Lily St. Regis is the squeaky-voiced, dim-witted girlfriend of Rooster Hannigan, a minor accomplice in the plot to kidnap Annie. With her bleached, blonde hair and the unforgettable line about being named after the hotel Bernadette Peters turned a supporting role into a scene-stealing gem. Despite the character's lack of intelligence, Peters infused Lily with a desperate desire for a better life and a comedic timing that was impeccable. She held her own against comedic giants, proving that she could make even the smallest role memorable with her unique charisma. Bernadette Peters is simply put Broadway royalty before and after Annie. Her career has been a dazzling run of critical and commercial success. She is considered the foremost interpreter of Stephen Sondheim's works, starring in original productions like Sunday in the Park with George and Into the Woods. Her voice distinct and powerful, and her corkscrew curls are iconic. She has won 2 Tony Awards and continues to sell out concert halls worldwide. Unlike the character Lily, who looked for the easy way out, Peters has built her career on rigorous discipline and a fearless approach to complex emotional roles. Her personal life has been marked by deep love and profound loss. She had a high-profile romance with Steve Martin in the late 70s and early 80s, but her true soulmate was investment advisor Michael Wittenberg, whom she married in 1996. Their marriage was a happy, grounded partnership until tragedy struck in 2005 when Wittenberg was killed in a helicopter crash. The loss was devastating, but Peters found solace in her work and her passion for animal welfare. She co-founded Broadway Barks, a charity event that promotes the adoption of shelter animals, channeling her grief into a cause that has saved thousands of lives. The contrast between role and reality is striking. Lily St. Regis was a woman of questionable morals and little substance. Bernadette Peters is a woman of immense depth, talent, and charity. While Lily wanted Easy Street, Peters has spent her life giving back to the community and elevating the art of musical theater. Today, at the age of 76, Bernadette Peters remains a timeless beauty and an active force in the entertainment industry. She continues to perform on Broadway and in television series, her star shining as brightly as ever. Her journey is a testament to the power of talent and the resilience of a kind heart. Edward Herrmann as Franklin D. Roosevelt. In Annie, Edward Herrmann plays President Franklin D. Roosevelt with a mixture of patrician dignity and warmth. He is the figure of authority who validates Annie's optimism, joining in the anthem of tomorrow and bringing the power of the White House to aid the little orphan Herrmann portrayed FDR. Not just as a politician, but as a man burdened by the state of the nation, finding hope in the voice of a child. His performance gave the film a historical anchor and a sense of grandeur. Edward Herrmann was a character actor of immense stature, literally and figuratively. Standing 6'5", he was an intellectual giant in Hollywood, known for his deep, resonant voice and his ability to play figures of authority and intelligence. After Annie, he had a prolific career, becoming beloved by a new generation as Richard Gilmore in the hit series Gilmore Girls. He was also the narrator for countless documentaries on the History Channel, his voice becoming synonymous with historical knowledge. He was a classically trained actor who loved the stage and brought a sense of class to every project he touched. Off-screen, Herrmann was a man of unique passions. He was a devout automobile enthusiast, restoring classic cars and serving as a master of ceremonies for the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. He lived a quiet life in Connecticut with his second wife, Star, and their family. He was known as a gentle giant, a man who loved history, literature, and family. He was the antithesis of the Hollywood celebrity, preferring a good book and a wrench in his garage to the red carpet. He battled a lawsuit from his first marriage, but found immense happiness and stability in his later years. The connection between FDR and Herrmann was natural. Both were men of presence who commanded respect. Harriman played FDR multiple times in his career, embodying the president's spirit so well that it became one of his signature roles. He represented stability and wisdom both on screen and in his private life. However, the voice of history was silenced too soon. On December 31st, 2014, Edward Harriman passed away in a New York hospital after a battle with brain cancer at the age of 71. His death was deeply mourned by his Gilmore Girls family and fans worldwide. He left behind a legacy of intelligence, warmth, and a voice that will continue to teach us history for years to come. Geoffrey Holder as Punjab. In the 1982 film, Punjab is Daddy Warbucks' mystical and imposing bodyguard. With his shaved head, towering height, and feats of magic like levitating, Annie Punjab was a character of wonder and mystery. Geoffrey Holder brought a magical realism to the role. He wasn't just a servant, he was a protector, with otherworldly abilities, saving Annie in the film's climax. His deep booming laugh and graceful movements made Punjab unforgettable. A superhero figure in a tuxedo. Geoffrey Holder's real life was even more extraordinary than the character he played born in Trinidad. He was a true Renaissance man. A dancer, choreographer, actor, painter, costume designer, and singer, standing 66. His physical presence was majestic. Before Annie, he had already made history as the villain Baron Samedi in the James Bond film Live and Let Die. He won 2 Tony Awards for directing and designing the costumes for the Broadway musical, The Wiz. He was a painter whose works hung in museums, and for years he was the face and voice of the Uncola 7-Up commercials. His personal life was a love story for the ages. He was married to the legendary dancer Carmen de Lavallade for 59 years. Their partnership was a creative and romantic union that lasted a lifetime. They were the golden couple of the dance world, supporting each other's artistic endeavors. Holder was a man who saw beauty in everything and lived his life as a piece of performance art. He was vibrant, loud, and unapologetically joyful. The connection between Punjab and Holder is the element of magic. Punjab used magic to protect Annie. Geoffrey Holder used the magic of art to enchant the world. He was a larger-than-life figure who refused to be boxed into a single category. The curtain fell on this magnificent life. On October 5th, 2014, Geoffrey Holder passed away in Manhattan from complications of pneumonia at the age of 84. He left behind a legacy of color movement and a reminder that life should be lived with a flourish. Loie DeBanzi as Eleanor Roosevelt. In a film filled with larger-than-life characters, Lois DeBanzi played Eleanor Roosevelt with a quiet dignity and a touch of humor. Though her screen time was limited compared to the leads, her presence was vital in the scenes at the White House. She portrayed the First Lady not just as a historical figure, but as a warm, supportive partner to FDR, joining in the singing of Tomorrow with a delightful lack of pretension. She represented the compassionate heart of the administration. Lois DeBanzi was a Scottish-born American actress whose career was defined by steady, reliable excellence on stage and screen. While Annie was a high-profile credit, she was a veteran of the theater, earning a Drama Desk Award and a Tony Award nomination for her performance in Mornings at 7. She was a character actress in the truest sense, disappearing into roles in films like Tootsie and Sister Act. She was never a household name in the tabloid sense, but she was a respected professional who worked consistently for decades. Her personal life was kept meticulously private. She lived a life away from the glare of celebrity, focusing on her craft. She came from a family with musical roots. Her uncle was a famous British band leader, but she forged her own path in acting. She lived a life of quiet dedication to the arts, residing in California in her later years. The connection between her role and her life is understated grace. Eleanor Roosevelt was a woman who worked tirelessly behind the scenes for the good of others. Lois DeBanzi was an actress who worked tirelessly to support the stories she was part of, never seeking to outshine but always elevating the ensemble. This graceful journey ended on April 3rd, 2021. Lois DeBanzi passed away in Green Bay, California at the age of 90. Her passing was quiet, much like her life, but her contribution to the arts, including her memorable turn as the first lady who sang for an orphan, remains a part of cinema history. Eileen Quinn as Annie. In Annie, the titular character is the heart and soul of the story. Eileen Quinn, chosen from over 8,000 hopefuls, carried the weight of the massive production on her small shoulders. With her curly red wig and powerful voice, she embodied the spirit of the Great Depression's most famous orphan. Her rendition of Tomorrow became an anthem of hope. At just 9 years old, she delivered a performance that was professional, endearing, and full of the spunky optimism that the character demanded. After the whirlwind success of Annie, Eileen Quinn's life took a different path than many child stars. She was under contract for sequels that never materialized. But instead of chasing fame at all costs, she and her family made a conscious decision to prioritize her education and normalcy, returned to theater, her first love, and continued to perform on stage. She attended Drew University, where she majored in Spanish, showing an intellectual curiosity beyond the entertainment industry. She spent time living in Chile as an exchange student, broadening her horizons far beyond Hollywood. In her adult life, Eileen Quinn has embraced her past while carving out her own identity. She became a professor of theater at Monmouth University, teaching the next generation of actors. She also fronts a rockabilly band called Eileen Quinn and the Leapin' Lizards, a playful nod to her famous catchphrase. She never married the scandals often associated with child stardom. Instead, she built a life of substance, education, and music. She speaks fondly of her time as Annie, viewing it as a wonderful chapter rather than the definition of her entire existence. The connection between Annie and Eileen is resilience and optimism. Annie believed in a better future. Eileen Quinn built one for herself. She took the golden ticket of fame and exchanged it for a grounded, fulfilling life. Today, at the age of 53, Eileen Quinn is alive and thriving. She continues to teach, perform with her band, and remains a beloved figure to fans of the movie. Her journey is a refreshing success story of a child star who grew up to be a happy, well-adjusted adult. Anne Reinking as Grace Farrell. In Annie, Grace Farrell is the elegant, efficient, and warm-hearted secretary to Oliver Warbucks. She is the mother figure. Annie never had the one who, first, sees the potential in the child and brings her into their world. Anne Reinking brought a sophisticated grace fittingly to the role, but it was her dancing that truly set her apart. In the musical numbers, specifically, we got Annie. Her Broadway background shone through her movements, were precise, fluid, and captivating. She was the bridge between the cold Warbucks and the innocent Annie, portraying a modern woman with intelligence and compassion. Anne Reinking's life off-screen was defined by dance. She was a legend of the Broadway stage, the muse and romantic partner of the great Bob Fosse. Her career was a testament to the grueling discipline and passion required of a top-tier dancer. After Annie, she continued to dominate the dance world, winning a Tony Award for her choreography in the revival of Chicago. She was not just a performer, she was a guardian of the Fosse legacy, ensuring that his style of dance lived on for future generations. She founded the Broadway Theater Project, dedicating her time to teaching and mentoring young artists, passing on the torch of musical theater. Her personal life was filled with the intensity of an artist. Her relationship with Fosse was complex and legendary, but she eventually found stability in her personal life. She married 4 times, finding lasting companionship in her later years. She was a devoted mother to her son, Christopher, who suffered from Marfan syndrome. Reinking stepped back from the limelight to care for him, showing a depth of maternal love that mirrored her character. Grace Farrell. She balanced the demands of a high-pressure career with the needs of her family, living a life between New York, Seattle, and Arizona, seeking peace away from the stage. The connection between Grace Farrell and Anne Reinking is undeniable. Grace was the woman who brought music and love into a silent mansion. Anne Reinking was the woman who kept the music and movement alive on Broadway. Both were figures of elegance, strength, and nurturing care. However, the dance had to end. On December 12, 2020, Anne Reinking passed away in her sleep while visiting family in Seattle at the age of 71. Her death was a shock to the theater community. She left behind a legacy of rhythm style and a body of work that continues to inspire dancers around the world. Ray Bolger as sound effects man. In Annie, Ray Bolger has a brief but deeply significant cameo as the sound effects technician at the radio station during the Bert Healy Show. He is the elderly man manipulating the wind machines and noise contraptions. While he has no dialogue of consequence, his presence is a powerful nod to the golden age of Hollywood. He dances a few steps a wink to the audience from a man who once danced down the yellow brick road. It was fittingly and poignantly his final film role. Ray Bolger's life was legendary, long before he stepped onto the set of Annie. He was the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. 1939, a role that immortalized him as the loose-limbed, straw-stuffed friend of Dorothy. He was a vaudeville star, a song and dance man of the highest caliber. For decades, he was the last surviving main cast member of The Wizard of Oz, carrying the legacy of that film alone. He was a bridge between the old world of entertainment and the new. His personal life was a testament to devotion. He was married to his wife, Gwendolyn Rickard, for over 57 years, a rarity in show business. They had no children. And Gwendolyn was his partner in every sense. Bolger was a devout Catholic and a man of deep faith. Never let the fame of the Scarecrow resent him. Instead, he embraced it, telling people he did have a brain after all. The connection between his cameo in Annie and his life is the closing of a circle. In Annie, he plays a man making magic behind the scenes at a radio station in life. He was a man who made magic on screen for nearly a century. Annie was a film about hope in hard times, much like The Wizard of Oz. His appearance was a passing of the torch. The Scarecrow finally went to rest. Not long after Annie was released, on January 15, 1987, Ray Bolger passed away in Los Angeles from bladder cancer at the age of 83. He was the last of the Oz Voyagers to leave us. His brief dance in Annie was his final goodbye, a last glimpse of the rubber-legged genius who taught the world to dance their troubles away.